you prove that Matthew's an eyewitness account? Can you prove that Matthew's an eyewitness account? Hanan Christian, let me hear you.
All right, so we have this Muslim apologist named Cora, and she makes the claim that if Christians cannot actually prove that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John actually wrote the four Gospels, then Christianity must be false. And as Christians, it's really, really important to learn how to refute this claim, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So on the surface and to outsiders, this sounds convincing, but once you understand how church history works, this argument completely falls apart. So within the ancient world, people didn't have digital timestamps or notaries in order to confirm ancient documents. That's not how historians determined authorship. Instead, historians ask specific questions like who preserved the specific document, who attributed it to a particular author, how early was this document written, and were there any competing claims about who actually wrote this document? And these are the same historical standards that we use for any ancient document. So when it comes to the Gospels, one of the strongest pieces of evidence comes from the writings of early church fathers, and these are the church fathers that you need to know in order to destroy this claim: Papias, Irenaeus, Polycarp, and Eusebius. So starting with Papias, all right? So Papias was an early church father who was a bishop of Hierapolis, which is now modern-day Turkey. And he wrote between AD 110 and AD 130, and he specifically said that Matthew wrote the sayings of Jesus and that Mark accurately recorded the teachings of the apostle Peter. All right, next we have another church father named Irenaeus, and Irenaeus was a bishop of Lyons, which is modern-day France, and he wrote in AD 180. And this is so important because Irenaeus was a disciple of Polycarp, and Polycarp was a disciple of the Apostle John, which means that we have a direct chain of discipleship from John the Apostle to Polycarp to Irenaeus. So Irenaeus specifically stated that Matthew wrote Matthew, that Mark wrote Mark, that Luke wrote Luke, and that John wrote John. After that came another church father named Origen. So Origen lived from AD 185 to AD 253, and he is known as one of the greatest biblical scholars and theologians of the early church. And he also claimed authorship of all four Gospels. There was no confusion there. Then we have another church father named Eusebius of Caesarea, which is also known as modern-day Israel. And Eusebius lived between AD 260 and AD 339. And Eusebius is known as the father of church history because he carefully preserved the writings and testimony of early Christians, including Papias, Irenaeus, and other church fathers. And he also claimed that the authors of the Gospels were actually authentic. So I just want to encourage us as Christians that as we continue to approach the last days, deception is going to be at an all-time high, and we cannot afford to be ignorant. Satan would love for us to remain completely ignorant of evidence supporting our faith because it leads to doubt and makes us look bad. And in this hour, we just cannot afford to not know our church history or not be informed of the Bible at all. So I just want to encourage you to continue to stand firm in the faith so that you can continue to boldly preach the gospel and prove that Muhammad is dead, his grave is occupied, the only one who has an empty tomb is Jesus, and he rose and he died and he's coming back soon. Continue to study and defend the faith, because people are perishing, and the only one that can save them is the Lord Jesus Christ.